Hey, it's your Pan-African World Diaspora Champion, Trish Adora, and you are watching O-Face Wrestling.
Hey guys, it's your girl Red Velvet, and you are watching O Face Wrestling.
Hola todos, soy la fashionista Roche Chanel, and you're watching O Face Wrestling. Smooches!
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT. Today I'm joined by my co-host Jaxie, and we are joined by Emily Hayden. So thanks for joining us today, Emily.
Hey bitches, how's it going?
So Emily, we're really excited to have you a part of the show. You are the third wrestler from the UK that I've had on my show. Plenty of more coming in the future. And this is Jaxie's first time joining us on one of the episodes featuring a wrestler. So really excited to have Jaxie part of this as well.
And I just want to say a huge thank you again, Emily, just to having be my first interviewee. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm really privileged at the fact I get to be a first interview, so that's really awesome.
All right, so Jaxie, I want to, ladies first, I want you to get started with your first question for Emily, so let's do this.
Okay, well, I mean, my first question is really, really easy. Do you design your wrestling gear? And if so, if not, who does?
Okay, so initially a lot of the first gear that everyone's seen me in, so my token pink and black with the lace, my token purple and black face, I designed all of that myself. But I've actually got a new set of gear that will be shown soon. And it was my good friend Haley the Tiny that set it up for me. So it's quite cute. I'll actually see if I still have the photo. She loves designing wrestling gear. She's actually a referee from Ireland. Shout out Haley the Tiny. And one day I messaged her and I was just like, hey Haley, you fancy designing some new wrestling gear for me? Just so I could say that she designed it for me. And it was actually so cool, the design. So I'm very excited for people to see it.
Oh, well, I'm really excited. I'm glad that we got kind of a first dibs on hearing that news as well. So I'll be looking out to see these new designs.
Yeah, O-Face exclusive right there.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see it too. Like I've never had anyone kind of like announce like a featured gear coming soon on this show, so I'm really excited to see that.
I can give a little hint if you want a little hint.
Go for it.
Ooh, yes.
Okay. So the gear's actually going to be blue, since I've never had blue gear before. So that's all I'll tell for now. But
okay, question. Is there any significance as to why you're changing to a blue color?
So because I've always had either purple or pink for my gear, and I just wanted to do something different. In particular, because my eyes are blue, I thought I'll go for blue gear, so it's got a little bit of a match. And I've been told before in the past by people that blue suits my aesthetic because of the dark hair, so the blue and the black usually goes with that, so something different.
I'm really intrigued to see it.
See, I feel like you need to make like a reveal video playing the song "I'm Blue." It's like some kind of like techno band from like the '90s, but I feel like you got to play that song and the reveal that outfit. It would work so well.
I will totally do that. I'll do that as an O-Face exclusive.
Are you going to reveal it through, an event, a wrestling event? Are you going to just reveal it through wearing it, or are you going to reveal it on social media?
I think the plan is that I'm going to wear it at an event, and then I'll put up like exclusive photos and whatnot of it. So I don't know. Well, what I'll do is maybe I'll put it up to the public. Maybe I'll do a vote. Does everyone want to wait and see it at a wrestling show? Does everyone actually want me to put photos up or a video of it? Because I do like that idea of the song "I'm Blue" in the background while I'm revealing it. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I look forward to this poll then.
Yeah, me as well. So now, Emily, my first question for you, and it's probably the question that you get asked like every podcast you do, but I don't know the answer to this. And I'm, for any of the listeners who aren't, are kind of new and, getting to know you a little bit, what inspired you to become a professional wrestler?
So I grew up watching professional wrestling since the age of 3. And my dad and my brother were always my best friends growing up. So I would watch wrestling with them. So they would have it on in the background. And I would kind of be like, oh, what's that? And then the first time I ever got intrigued by wrestling was Chris Jericho's debut on Raw. And it was when he was having his back and forth with The Rock. And I just remember as a kid being like, stopping and just going, what's this? Like, what's going on? And that's where the entertainment interest came from. But I remember the first time I saw Lita, and it was after she hit the top rope moonsault, and I was just like, hang on, girls can do this too? Like, what? Like, this is insane. And then I just remember thinking in my head at that moment as a kid going, yeah, that's something I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember Chris Jericho debuting. Like, I remember they made that to be like a really big deal. I didn't watch WCW at the time, so I didn't really know who the guy was. But I remember like instantly becoming like a fan of him because he's so charismatic, and obviously he's a beast on the on the mic. But yeah, Lita was so badass. Like, because women's wrestling really wasn't that popular in the '90s, but like women like Lita really, got your attention. Like, she was doing things that women weren't doing. Even like as much like ground as like China broke, she wasn't doing somersaults off the top turnbuckle. Like, seeing like that even that style of wrestling still, even for the men, it really wasn't like, you didn't really see that all the flippy stuff and all too much. I mean, that's something that we see a lot more now in this era. But like what Lita was doing was just amazing, and it's just like I wish that.
Coming from a girl's point of view as well, I have to agree with Emily that Lita is one of those females growing up as well. When you're kind of a tomboy yourself and you don't know where you belong, she really kind of made you feel like it's okay to kind of be different. It's okay if you want to hang out with the boys. It's okay if you want to go and be a wrestler and do aggressive stuff instead of girly stuff. She was that alternative that actually gave definitely young girls like myself, like, a bit of hope to in knowing that we can grow up being who we want to be and accepting who we want to be. So
100%, Jaxie, 100%. And that's why I loved Lita as well, because I was always a tomboy growing up, and I was never really friends with girls a lot because I was the weird little girl that liked wrestling, liked video games. I liked all these weird movies. Like, I was always a little kid that was like, everyone's like, you want to play Barbie? I'm like, nah, let's play Evil Dead,
So, Jaxie, you're up next.
Me next? Okay, great. I wanted to know, have you kind of had a wrestling feud with another person that you've kind of really enjoyed? And if so, who was that wrestler?
Oh, 100%. Right away, I can think of one person that I had a feud with. And that was I call her my WrestleMa, like, because she was the one I would always go to for advice. She's now retired now. Her name's Jayla Dark, so shout out my WrestleMa, Jayla, because I guarantee she'll probably watch us. And so yeah, when I wrestled her, I have to be honest, it was kind of like a 2-year feud, because we had the feud because the W3L Women's Championship that I currently hold, it was vacant, so they were doing like a tournament for it, and it was myself versus Jayla in the final. So the feud kind of started there at the company for it. And then it was this just constant back and forth where she was chasing me for the belt, and I'm the big bad heel that's scared of her because she's a scary woman, and and I would try my hardest not to fight her again so I could keep the belt. Then she took the belt off me. The feud intensified because we found out that Jayla had told me that she was planning on retiring the following year. So I distinctly remember that we went to Mike Musso that owns W3L, and we asked, like, listen, can we extend this feud, like, because it'd be pretty awesome, like, having a feud together before she retires, and then I can tick that off the list. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we did the whole me dropping the belt to Jalen, and I was chasing her. And then it built up to W3L's biggest show of the year, which was called Resolution. And Mike actually had a conversation with us about that, because it was his big show, and he was like, so girls, do you want to do a stipulation sort of a match? And me and Jayla looked at each other and went, what kind of a stipulation? And he was like, how do you feel about a street fight? Ooh. And Jayla was like, yes, street fight, because that's like her wheelhouse. So, and then I'm standing there like, oh, I've never done a street fight before.
Oh wow, what was it like?
Oh, it was insane. It was insane, Jaxie. Like honestly, like there was no one better to take me through my first street fight than Jayla, like someone that's like kind of like the queen of street fights in Scotland, you know. So it was a very full circle moment. Like she took me. It was her last match in Scotland with me, because then she went on to do her last 2 matches ever at Pro Eve in England. So we were the last match in Scotland. It was my first street fight, and I won the belt off her as well. And the match was online. Sorry?
That must have been a really good feeling. Your first street fight, and you managed to actually win the belt from her at that point too.
It was very emotional, I have to say. Like,
is it on YouTube?
If you look for the match online, you actually see it as soon as the bell goes. Before the referee even comes over to me with the belt, I'm sitting in the corner and I just start bawling. I'm like, because I just looked over at Jayla and I was like, that was our last match. And I start crying. The ref gives me the belt and I just look at the belt and I start crying even more.
Aww. And then that on YouTube then?
Yes, that's on YouTube. And then you see, we meet in the middle. I eventually stop crying. She gives me a big hug. And then she whispers in my ear, I'm so proud of you. Well done. Aww. And then I just start crying even more.
Aww. No, but I think that's a well-deserved moment, especially like you said, the feud was built up very well for over a year or so. And then to kind of be retiring someone and taking a belt off of her as well in your first ever street match, that there's going to be a lot of overwhelming feelings there.
Yeah, a lot of overwhelming feelings. And after that,
I'm going to sympathize with you when I watch it now.
Yeah. You'll get all the feels watching it. Like I still get the feels watching it.
So I have to ask, like, how do you hold in all of your emotions prior to winning the title? Because obviously you know you're going to win it prior. So it's like you already know, but you have to go through the match and pretending you don't know. And then when you finally win, it's like, I did this. Like, how do you do that?
It's actually pretty crazy, because it's like, as much as in your head you're going, okay, I'm winning this belt. Like initially I've got like the tunnel vision, so I'm like, just need to focus on this match. This is my first ever street fight. I need to remember that we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we need to make it look awesome because this is our last match together. So I've got like all these things that I'm focusing on. So I'm like this, like literally tunnel vision. And I'm like, okay, so we need to do this bit, then we need to do this bit, then we need to do this bit, then we need to do this bit. I should be reacting like this. She should react like this. We need to go grab that. Yeah. And then as soon as it was done and I realised it was done, and the moment of realisation hit me, that's when all the emotions just came out and I just couldn't contain them after that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I noticed, like, sometimes, like, when you watch, like, wrestling on television, you can tell if a wrestler is going to win or lose that match based off of just how they're coming out. Sometimes they just have win face all over them or, like, lose face all over them. So I can just imagine, like, you can't come out, like, looking like you're about to win this title. Like, you have to hold it in and stuff like that.
Poker face. Gotta get
the poker face, yeah, exactly.
Sometimes as well, you can tell when a wrestler's going to win because they come out with new gear.
Well, okay, I didn't know that, so I'll be looking out for that now. It's
something I've always noticed, like growing up. Like sometimes I'll like watch, maybe I know it's like WrestleMania, for example, so everyone's going to be coming out in new wrestling gear for that. But sometimes, like, you'll watch like another pay-per-view and you go, I think so-and-so's going to win because they've got new gear that kind of matches that belt.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna have to kind of keep an eye out for that sort of thing.
Yeah, me as well. So now for my next question, you had just mentioned, the street fight that you were in. What is a stipulation match that you haven't done yet that you're just really itching to do, like a Hell in a Cell cage, or something like that?
Now this is an interesting one. So only like a handful of people know this. So again, all face exclusive. So I always say, and this is like something that's quite surprising for people, because on average, in my career, I've always done like kind of a comedy style, and then, like I said, I dipped my toe in with the street fight. I've done an I Quit match before, but I've always said that I want to do a death match. I've always wanted to do a death match, and because I loved Mick Foley growing up. And Mick Foley, I went to go see him on his Inside the Ropes tour when he came to Scotland, and he was telling the story about like, Hell in a Cell, for example, and he said that he would always do this thing where he would like balance out the kind of pros and cons of doing like the mental things that he would do, and he'd be like, yeah, but that's really gonna hurt, but it's gonna look so cool. And that's how he would decide how he was gonna do stuff. And that's kind of a only Mick Foley, and it's like and that's kind of the way that I've started like doing the way in which I wrestle now. So I'll go, yeah, but that's gonna suck, that's gonna hurt, but it's gonna look so cool. But yeah, death match.
So I want to know too. I'm a big fan of matches like hardcore death matches that have like thumbtacks in it. And for the first time, this week I got to see a women's match with thumbtacks, which was the Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. So would you be down for ever like getting slammed in thumbtacks during a death match?
Yes, 100%. I would actually feel like Mick Foley if I did it, So that was the first thing.
Just give a little shout out to both Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa for that match, because it was insane, and I was so impressed by both of them. I really was. So
the match got voted like I think the match got voted like one of the best women's matches of all time or something like that I've seen. So and rightfully so.
Up there. Honestly, I knew to expect that something was crazy was going to go down, but I didn't know how crazy. And they both put 100% into it. They both were amazing.
Totally agree.
But I look forward to actually seeing your first one. I'm going to keep an eye out for that. For when that day eventually comes.
When that day eventually comes, and you see me taking that thumbtack bump, deep down I'll be smiling and going, Mick Foley.
And as well that we'll just be thinking that too. So we'll have that little wavelength there for you, wishing you luck.
So like a fun fact too, the last wrestler that I had on my show that was from the UK, she said that she was in a death match against her husband.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that is like so weird. Like, how could you just go out? I mean, I know you have the chemistry, but just going out there against your spouse, like in this hardcore match, it's just like.
I mean, I could do it.
And she had made a reference. I don't know what it means. I know it has to be like a UK reference, but she said that they potatoed each other. Like, what's that mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what that means.
I can't really imagine that in the middle of a wrestling ring.
So what's that mean?
Emily, you do this.
So like whenever we use like the term like a potato, like if I was talking about like wrestling someone, I was like, they potatoed me like during the match, it just means like they like hit me that hard that sometimes you would have like a bump and whatnot. So
okay, it's like I don't know why I didn't ask at the time, but I was like, that's kind of a funny reference. Like I'd never heard anyone say that before, like potato. Like thought that was pretty funny though. So now, Jaxie, now you're up with your.
I think it's my question, which is just kind of a pretty simple one. Do you have a finishing move, and what is it called?
Why, yes, I do. So I've got a couple of finishing moves. Lately, the one that I've been doing in particular on ICW is the Kimura Lock, so inspired by Brock Lesnar, and I call it the Break a Beach.
Okay, break a beat. Okay, that.
I like that. I like how like there's like those finishing moves that you see a lot of wrestlers use, but they all like have their own name for it. I like that, their own little spice. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it
Well,
also shows a bit of their personality too, which is
yeah.
nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm Wrestle Beach as well, and I like breaking Beach's arms, so
Yeah, exactly.
Have you accidentally like ever like kind of like, I don't want to say like injured someone, but like kind of like did it a little too far where they're like, hey, like that actually kind of hurt a little bit?
as far as I'm aware, no. Like, no one's ever, like, because I like to think that someone would actually come up and say to me, like, hey, that was a little sore. But there was like a funny story, and it was at one of the ICW shows, and I was wrestling Anastasia, who is this talented young girl that's up and coming in Scotland, and what a lot of people don't know is that Anastasia, before wrestling, was a dancer. So she's very bendy. And I did the Kimura Lock to her, and I didn't know she could do this, right? Like, so I was just like, oh yes, I'll just crank it in a little bit. And she was like, yeah, go for it. And so I was surprised, like, during the match. So it was like I had her arm up here, but then it was like she put it up like a little bit higher, and I thought, like, oh my god, like, have I actually hurt this girl? And then we got backstage, and I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, what was that? And she was just like, yeah, I've got bendy arms. And I was like, oh. and then Mark Dallas and Scott Reed, they came up and they were like, that looked gnarly, like, is she okay? Like, and that looked nasty. And I was like, yeah, it did look nasty, and I thought I hurt her, like. and she's just like, no, I'm fine. And she went away and did her makeup. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's just amazing how like flexible people could be. Like, I'm not flexible at all. Like when I would go to therapy, my therapist would tell me, hey, like, go a little further. Like, this is as far as I go. Like, I cannot go. And she's like, that's bad. Like, that is really bad. But yeah, some people, like, like you said, she's a dancer or used to be a dancer, so like they can really go pretty far, and it's like, you use that to your benefit in the ring, because then you can make something look even more really intense and stuff like that.
It's the same with her kicks as well. Like, she's insane with her kicks. She's got these long dancer legs, and anytime I watch her do kicks, I'm like, wow, like, is she actually like potatoed them?
So now for my last question, this is like kind of like a non-wrestling related question. You had mentioned like growing up and you were really big in video games. Are you still into video games?
Of course. Like, I've actually got my Twitch channel dedicated to it. So, in particular, it was my Ps I loved playing growing up. So, Final Fantasy VII is my all-time favorite game.
So mine too. My Twitter name is One Winged Angel, because my favorite villain of all time is Sephiroth. I absolutely love him.
I thought that as soon as I saw One Winged Angel, I was like, I think this speech likes Final Fantasy.
I think me and you are going to get on very, very well. Have you played remake? Have you played it?
Yes, I have played the remake, and I was so in love with it. I got the special edition one, so you got like your Avalanche and Chocobo patches with it. Yeah.
And I got the big cloud statue because I'm a nerd. I had to get it. I had to get it.
That one was sold out, so the best I could get was the Avalanche patches. I sound like, oh damn, what that was like. But the Avalanche patches. Of course, I got the soundtrack, and I got the special artwork with it too.
Oh, good. Did you get the extra summons?
Yeah, I got the extra summons. So I got the fat chocobo summon,
and then the little carbuncle.
Yes, I got that one too.
He's so helpful.
Oh, I know, right?
They're releasing a DLC pack for Yuffie, the character of Yuffie.
I know.
I cannot wait. I'm super excited for it. So yeah, definitely we'll have to catch up on
We
that.
will definitely have to catch up.
Yeah.
Anyone that talks Final Fantasy with me, like they're
I
always
could
a
do
they're
it.
always a
We'll
friend.
have a whole interview session just on that. So we'll
Totally.
take that in for later down the line.
we totally should. We totally should. Like I remember playing and the remake, and it was like that dance sequence at the Honeybee Inn, and I was like, "What is going on? This is insane."
Yeah, I think they definitely like sort of amped it up from going from like, you know, just doing the cross-dressing scene to actually taking it to a whole other level. But the creativity of that whole game in itself is just it's spot on.
100%. 100%. We will definitely need to talk more Final Fantasy shop with this.
Definitely. I think you've started something, JT.
I did. It's like I don't play Final Fantasy, so I could only just sit back and listen. I did the that you all were talking about. It was free on PlayStation. I did download it to give it an opportunity to see if I like it.
Gotta play it, JT. Gotta play it.
Our fellow Face Wrestling Twitter handler Tim has actually been playing it too. So you need to
It's such a good game.
We need to get
It's
an
totally worth the wait.
gaming group together and create sort of like an Ophis gaming sort of Twitch stream or thing, and then maybe we can do some sort of like co-op games, especially alongside, you know, people like yourself. I
would love that. I'm totally up for co-op games. That sounds like fun.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you know once we actually try and put something together.
Yeah, we were supposed to do like
I'm
the O-Face gaming.
We were
like back in like
especially
November
because we've got the multiplayer RE game coming out soon, so that would be really fun to play together.
Oh yeah, we could do that. That'd be so good. Yes, right, we'll do that.
We'll get that sorted.
Yes.
There's another game, I think it comes out in like June. It's called like Back for Blood or something like that. Like, it's like the Left 4 Dead games. It's supposed to be like really fun.
I did see a trailer for that too. I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah, I'm really hyped for that. I think they're coining it as like the spiritual successor of Evil Dead. I was going to say Left 4 Dead. I think that's how they're advertising it. I'll need to double check my brother because my brother's like the king when it comes to zombie games. Like he's the one that keeps me in the know-how with that. I keep him in the know-how with like Final Fantasy games. He keeps me in the know-how with all the zombie games.
Yeah, there's that one zombie game that came out like a year or two ago. I forgot what it was called, but the guy's like on a motorcycle and he has like the hat backwards. And there's like hordes of zombies. I forgot what it's called, but I've been wanting to play that.
I know which one you're on about, but I'm getting a mind blank on that one just because I don't actually have it myself. I've got many other.
Is it Days Gone?
Days Gone, yes.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. Well done.
I remember being so hyped about that game, and then it came out, and I started hearing kind of like negative things. So I'm like, I'll just wait till it gets cheaper because when a game gets bad reviews, the price dips quickly, and then I just I'm buying it. But when it's like $20, I'll definitely get it.
It's very rare when I'll actually go out and buy a game. Like, right, okay, I'm buying it like £50, £60, however much it is. Sometimes I'm usually that person. But when it came to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm like, no, I am buying it. I'm pre-ordering that right now.
No, with that one, we've been waiting 20 plus years for that. And as soon as it was announced, I knew that all my money was being dedicated to that. Whatever the amount, whatever the price, I was willing to pay it.
Yes,
so,
100%.
And it hasn't disappointed, so I'm very happy with that. Thank you, Square Enix. Thank you.
Shout out Square Enix.
Yeah.
So, Emily, that wraps up all the questions that me and Jaxie had for you. So I just have to thank you so much for joining us today on O-Face Wrestling today.
Oh, wow.
Really fun.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And I say this all the time. Any time that I get an opportunity to talk video games, it's always a blast because I am a huge nerd, and obviously Jaxie is too, so it worked out really well, and it was a fun conversation. Even though you two got the geek out about it.
And obviously I am too, so this was just like a match made in heaven right here.
I feel like it was meant to be that we were meant to do this interview. It's a great interview overall. Thank you.
I'm very thankful that you guys had me on, and it's safe to say that you will frequently be getting messages off me about video games now, since I know you two are both
Yay.
gamers.
Yeah, I don't complain
Awesome.
about
Well, watch out, and we will get something together so we can
Yes.
do our O-Face wrestling tournament. It will be great.
Totally up for that. Totally.
So, Emily, do you want to share with the listeners your social media so they know where to find you at?
Oh, here we go. Let me just get paper. No, I'm totally kidding. That's just a list of like Dungeons and Dragons stuff because I play that as well. But here we go. Let's see if I remember them all. So my Twitter is Emily Hayden _UK. My Instagram is _Emily Hayden _. And if you go into Facebook and you type in Emily Hayden, my mug will appear. And also, same with YouTube. And lastly, my Twitch is twitch.tv/tweetchbeach _ Emily Hayden. I can't believe I remembered that. That was actually quite surprising. So yeah, that's all my social medias.
All right, and everyone listening, make sure you go follow Emily on all those platforms. I'll have the links to each and every one of them in the bio. Also, just make sure you give us a sub on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And thank you all so much for listening, and thank you to both of you, Jaxie and Emily, for joining me today on O-Face Wrestling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.